Have you ever judged someone just by the clothes they were wearing? Today's story will make you think twice. A tired grocery store worker walks into a bank with one simple request: I just want to see my balance. A millionaire laughs at her in front of everyone, but seconds later, one look at the computer screen leaves him completely speechless. What secret was hidden in her account, and how did it change both of their lives forever? Stay with us until the very end for this emotional and unforgettable story. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories. Now, let's get started. Emily Carter tightened her grip on the worn leather strap of her faded brown purse as she stood outside the towering glass building of Marble National Bank in downtown Chicago. Rainwater dripped from the edge of the awning onto the sidewalk, soaking the toes of her old sneakers. She glanced at the folded piece of paper in her hand one last time before taking a deep breath and walking inside. The building was everything she had imagined: polished marble floors, sparkling crystal chandeliers, expensive artwork hanging on the walls, and employees dressed in tailored suits who greeted wealthy clients with bright smiles. It was a world completely different from the small apartment she rented on the west side of the city. Emily had just finished a 10-hour shift at a neighborhood grocery store. Her blue uniform was neatly pressed despite the long day, but the sleeves showed signs of wear after years of use. Her hands were rough from stocking shelves and lifting heavy boxers every day, and a few strands of brown hair had escaped from her ponytail. She looked tired, but there was quiet determination in her eyes. She wasn't there to ask for money, apply for a loan, or beg for financial help. She simply wanted to check the balance of a savings account that had belonged to her late grandmother. Her grandmother, Margaret Carter, had been a kind but mysterious woman. Before passing away 6 months earlier, she had handed Emily an old envelope containing a bank card and a small handwritten note. Never close this account without checking it first. Promise me. Emily had promised without asking questions. Life had been overwhelming since then. Between paying rent, covering medical bills left behind by her grandmother, and working overtime to survive, she had almost forgotten about the account. Only after finding the envelope again while cleaning her apartment did she decide to visit the bank. As she approached the reception desk, the young employee looked up briefly before scanning Emily from head to toe. His polite smile faded into a look of indifference. "Can I help you?" he asked without much interest. "I'd like to check the balance of this savings account," Emily replied. Handing over the old bank card, the receptionist examined the outdated card and frowned. "That's an old account," he muttered. "You'll need assistance from one of our senior tellers." He pointed toward the VIP customer service area. It happened to be the only counter without a waiting line. Emily thanked him politely and walked across the spacious lobby, unaware that dozens of eyes were quietly following her. At the VIP desk sat Richard Hale, one of the bank's largest investors and a self-made millionaire known throughout Chicago's business community. Richard had earned his fortune in real estate and technology, and newspapers often praised his financial success. He occasionally spent time inside branches without announcing his identity, believing he could judge the quality of customer service by watching everyday interactions. When Emily approached the counter, Richard noticed her immediately. Her inexpensive clothes, faded shoes, and tired expression convinced him she didn't belong in the exclusive section of the bank. He leaned back in his chair with a smug smile. "You know," he said loudly enough for nearby customers to hear, "this counter is usually reserved for people with serious money." Several people turned toward Emily. She felt her cheeks grow warm but remained calm. "The receptionist sent me here," she answered respectfully. Richard laughed. "Well, I suppose everyone can dream." A couple standing nearby exchanged amused glances, and one man quietly chuckled. Emily ignored them. Years of struggling financially had taught her not to let strangers' opinions define her worth. "I only want to check my balance," she said gently. Richard folded his arms. "Checking your balance," he repeated with a grin. "Let me guess, you're hoping there's enough left for dinner tonight." The comment caused another wave of quiet laughter throughout the lobby. Emily looked down for a moment, embarrassed, but she refused to respond with anger. "I just want to see my balance," she repeated. The senior teller, feeling uncomfortable with the situation, accepted Emily's old bank card and carefully inserted it into the computer. The system paused for several seconds before displaying an error message. The teller whispered. "That's unusual." She tried again. The computer froze. She refreshed the screen once more, entered the account number manually, and waited. Richard smirked confidently. "I've seen this before," he said. "Old and active accounts usually end up empty." The teller remained silent, focusing on the monitor. Suddenly, the loading symbol disappeared. Her eyes widened. She blinked twice. Then she instinctively covered her mouth with one hand as if she couldn't believe what she was seeing. Richard noticed her reaction and stepped closer. Still wearing an amused smile. "What happened?" he asked sarcastically. "Did the account go negative?" Without saying a single word, the teller slowly turned the computer monitor toward him. The moment Richard's eyes landed on the screen, his confident smile vanished completely. His face turned pale, his jaw dropped, and for the first time in years, the millionaire found himself unable to speak. The enormous number displayed on the monitor left everyone in the lobby frozen in stunned silence. The following morning, the mansion was unusually quiet. Sunlight streamed through the tall kitchen windows as Grace quietly prepared breakfast. The smell of freshly baked biscuits and cinnamon filled the air. She moved slowly, humming an old tune, while coffee brewed beside her. Unlike the previous nannies, she wasn't checking the security cameras or nervously watching every doorway. She simply carried on with her work, as if nothing unusual had happened the day before. As she reached into the refrigerator, she noticed a small figure sitting alone at the breakfast counter. It was Liam. Quickly wiped his eyes the moment he realized someone had seen him. "I'm not crying," he muttered, without looking up. Grace didn't question him. She warmed a glass of milk, placed it gently in front of him, and set a small plate of homemade cookies beside it. "You don't have to explain anything," she said softly. "Sometimes, mornings are hard." Liam stared at the cookies but said nothing. A few minutes later, Lily quietly walked into the kitchen carrying an old stuffed teddy bear with one ear hanging by a thread. She held it tightly against her chest before sitting beside her brother. Grace smiled. "That's a well-loved bear. My mom gave it to us," Lily whispered. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Grace suddenly understood something every other nanny had completely missed. The children weren't acting out because they were spoiled, they were hurting. As the morning continued, Grace noticed another pattern. Every time Ethan's car disappeared through the front gate, Liam and Lily became restless. Their smiles disappeared, their voices grew louder, and within minutes they began planning another prank. The trouble always started after their father left. Not before. When Ethan kissed the twins goodbye and drove away for another long day at the office, Grace watched the children's faces carefully. They stood by the window until his car vanished. Neither of them waved, neither of them smiled. Instead of giving them chores or threatening punishment, Grace surprised them. "I need 2 assistants today." Liam crossed his arms. "We're not helping." Grace nodded as though she expected that answer. "That's okay." She began mixing pancake batter by herself. A few moments later, she purposely struggled to reach a heavy bag of flour on the highest shelf. Without thinking, Lily stepped forward. "I'll get it." Grace smiled but said nothing. Soon, Liam wandered over as well. "I know how to crack eggs." Within minutes, all three were working together. The kitchen became complete chaos. Flour floated through the air like snow. Eggshells landed in the batter. One pancake came out completely black after Liam forgot it on the stove. Lily accidentally knocked over an entire bowl of blueberries, sending them rolling across the marble floor. Instead of getting angry, Grace burst into laughter. "I think we've invented a brand new recipe." The twins couldn't help laughing too. It was the first genuine laugh either of them had shared in a long time. By lunchtime, the beautiful billionaire kitchen looked as though a tornado had passed through it. Pots covered every counter. Sticky syrup dripped onto the floor. Flour coated everyone's clothes from head to toe. The children suddenly stopped laughing. They remembered what usually happened whenever something expensive got damaged. Adults yelled. Adults blamed them. Adults packed their bags. Grace simply handed each of them a cleaning towel. "If we make a mess," she said kindly, "we cleaned it together. No shouting. No lectures. Just teamwork." That evening, Ethan returned home earlier than usual after canceling an important business meeting. As he stepped into the kitchen, he froze. His spotless mansion looked like a bakery explosion. Flour covered the countertops. Blueberries rolled beneath the dining table. The sink overflowed with dirty bowls. For a brief moment, Ethan assumed the new maid had failed, just like all the others. Before he could speak, Liam stepped forward. "Dad." Ethan looked at his son. "It wasn't Miss Grace's fault." Lily joined him. "We made the mess?" Ethan blinked in surprise. His twins had never admitted responsibility before, not once. Grace quietly continued washing dishes without interrupting. Over the next several weeks, something remarkable began to change. Grace never rewarded bad behavior, but she never humiliated the children either. When they argued, she listened before speaking. When they broke something, she taught them how to fix it. Every evening she read stories before bed, changing her voice for every character until the twins laughed themselves to sleep. She attended their school art show. When Ethan was trapped in meetings, she cheered louder than anyone during Liam's soccer practice. Every morning she slipped handwritten notes into their lunchboxes. One read, "You are braver than you know." Another simply said, "Someone believes in you." Slowly, the elaborate pranks disappeared. The hidden speakers stayed silent. The fake spiders remained in their boxers. The secret prank room gathered dust. One rainy evening, Ethan arrived home unexpectedly early. As he walked down the upstairs hallway, he heard quiet voices coming from the library. He stopped before opening the door. Inside, Liam and Lily sat beside Grace on the old leather sofa. Liam stared at the fireplace before speaking. We scared everyone away on purpose. Grace gently nodded. I know. Lily looked down at the teddy bear in her lap. If they stayed too long, we'd love them. Liam finished quietly. And then they'd leave, like Mom did. Grace wrapped both children in a warm embrace. My sweethearts, she whispered, your mother didn't choose to leave you. She loved you every single day of her life. Tears filled the twins' eyes. You don't have to push people away to protect your hearts, Grace continued. Real love doesn't disappear because you're afraid. Standing unseen outside the library door, Ethan felt tears rolling down his own face. For years he had believed his children were simply spoiled and impossible to manage. Only now did he finally understand. Every prank had been a shield. Every joke had hidden grief. Every nanny they chased away had been another test, hoping someone, just one person, would refuse to leave. And Grace had finally passed that test. Ethan stood outside the library long after the conversation ended. His hand rested against the half-open door, but he couldn't bring himself to step inside. Every word he had overheard echoed in his mind. For years, he had blamed Liam and Lily for driving away every nanny who entered their home. He had punished them, taken away toys, canceled vacations, and hired child psychologists, believing they were simply acting out because they had no discipline. Now he realized he had been fighting the symptoms instead of healing the wound. The real problem had never been the pranks. It had been loneliness. That night, after the twins had gone to bed, Ethan found Grace sitting alone on the back porch with a cup of tea, watching the rain fall over the gardens. I owe you an apology, he said quietly. Grace looked up with a gentle smile. You don't owe me anything. I owe my children everything. He sat beside her, staring into the darkness. I thought working harder would give them a better future. Every new contract, every company I bought, every extra hour at the office, I convinced myself I was doing it for them. Grace remained silent, allowing him to continue. While I was building my business. Ethan's voice cracked. My children were growing up without me. For the first time since Emma's funeral, Ethan cried openly. Grace didn't offer speeches or easy answers. She simply sat beside him until the tears stopped. The greatest gift children can receive, she finally said, isn't money. It's knowing someone chooses them every single day. Those words stayed with Ethan all night. The following morning, something unusual happened. Instead of rushing into his home office before sunrise, Ethan walked into the kitchen, wearing jeans and a simple sweatshirt. Liam looked up in surprise. Aren't you going to work? No. The twins exchanged confused glances. I've canceled my meetings. Grace smiled quietly as she placed pancakes on the table. For how long? Lily asked. Ethan grinned. For as long as my family needs me. The twins looked as though they couldn't believe what they had heard. After breakfast, Ethan loaded everyone into the family SUV. They spent the day in Central Park feeding ducks, renting bicycles, eating hot dogs from a street vendor, and laughing harder than they had in years. Ethan pushed the twins on swings until his arms became tired. They played catch on the grass, flew colorful kites, and ended the afternoon with ice cream that melted faster than they could eat it. For the first time since their mother's passing, the mansion no longer felt like the center of their lives. Their family did. Over the following months, Ethan made even bigger changes. He stepped down from several company boards. He delegated responsibilities to trusted executives. Every Friday became family day, a rule that no business meeting could interrupt. He attended school concerts. He helped with homework. He cooked dinner once a week. Even if Grace had to rescue his burnt recipes more than once, the twins slowly transformed. Teachers who once complained about their behavior now praised their kindness. Liam defended a new student who was being bullied at school. Lily organized a fundraiser for the Children's Hospital where her mother had received treatment. The same children who once delighted in making adults miserable had become thoughtful, compassionate, and confident. News of the remarkable change spread beyond the Caldwell family. One afternoon, the director of the nanny agency that had blacklisted the twins called Ethan. We heard your children are doing wonderfully, she said. They are, Ethan replied proudly. So, do you need another nanny now? Ethan smiled. No. He looked across the living room where Grace was helping